So today we are getting started on week 9 of Google Classroom, which is October 12th through 16th. We're continuing our narrative writing assignment that we started last week. It was posted on the 9th. So you will open your story planner when it's time and make a copy by clicking on File, Make a Copy, completing all the sections of the document to plan your own narrative story. Then once you're finished, you will upload it here and then start writing your narrative story on a Google Doc. The paperwork that you need is down here. This is the story planner document. So this is what will be assigned for homework. The story requirements are here. Suspense short story requirements. So your task is to create an original suspense mystery story. Original means you wrote it, you invented it. Some kids asked me if they could get their inspiration from a movie or TV show. Yes, you can. I don't mind if you borrow characters, but you cannot borrow entire scenes or the plot from a movie or a cartoon that you have seen. It has to be your original work, the action of the movie. So the criteria here is your story must be a minimum, the shortest it can be, is 1.5 pages long. It must contain all the elements of a short story. It needs to have the plot, characters, setting, dialogue, which is conversation between the characters, and it needs to have a theme. The story must be suspenseful and include one of the literary techniques that we went over last week in our mystery and suspense notes. So I'd like you to try to include foreshadowing and symbolism. Symbolism is where stories have a mark, a sign, or a word that indicates an idea, an object, or a relationship. Symbols can take the form of words, sounds, gestures, ideas, or visual images. So those are used to convey ideas or beliefs. So that's your actual definition there for symbolism. Examples of symbolism in our everyday life are listed here in the bullet points. A dove, the bird of a white dove, is a symbol of peace, especially with the olive branch in its beak. You may have seen that. A red rose, or the color of red, stands for love or romance, hence people giving roses on Valentine's Day. Black is a symbol that represents evil or death in most stories. If there's a ladder in a story, usually it symbolizes a connection between heaven and earth, or a character rising above or going through some kind of a transformation. And a broken mirror can symbolize a separation, like a fracturing of something. So those are the two things I'd like you to try to include, is theme, foreshadowing, and some sort of symbolism. Number 4, your story must be written in paragraph form. You need to come up with a title for it. It needs to have dialogue that moves the plot along. Just like when we did our dialogue comic strip assignments, that was practicing for this assignment. Your story has to have appropriate material for the class assignment. So it says here, please do not use graphic violence, inappropriate language or subject matter. The bottom line, if you can't say it in a house of worship or a court of law, don't say it in your story. Some kids asked me last week, well, what can I say that someone was murdered or stabbed? Yes, you can. Just don't go into graphic detail about it. Okay? We're not trying to gross out everybody else in the class.
Blood.
You can say blood, yes. That's fine. All stories will be graded based on the class writing rubric. Your evaluations will be made upon your pre-writing, which is using a writing folder, which would be your Google Drive. If you need to make index cards to organize your characters, you can. I will not be collecting any type of index cards. Drafting, revising, and proofreading. We will be doing that a bit together. I'll talk you through that process, but you're going to be turning in a rough draft to me. You can handwrite the story on paper and then take photographs of it and upload those clear close-up photographs to turn them in, or you can just type all of your work on a Google document. When we publish, that will be the third step. You need to have a typed up draft when you're done. So if you want to handwrite all of your rough draft and your pre-writing, that's fine, but you need to type your final draft. It will be graded for ideas and content. It needs to have a clear main idea and supporting details of your story. It needs to be organized with a beginning, middle, and end, like a standard plot diagram. It should have a voice, a strong creative voice of you, the narrator. It should show your writing style, which is how you present ideas. Roman numeral 4, word choice. You should have an assortment of vocabulary and describing words. We had a lesson on sensory language, so I'll be looking for sensory language in your story. And then fluency. It should have proper sentence and paragraph structure so that when we read your story, it makes sense going through it. Okay, so that is your requirements for the project. Yeah. So when you go back to Google Classroom and you click here on your story planner, which is due this Thursday night on the 15th of October at 9 o'clock, when you open it up, it will look like this. Please write your first and last name and class period up here. So you'll fill in the information for each section of the worksheet to plan your fictional story. I believe I presented this to you last Friday, so this may be a review, but if it's not, then we'll quickly go through it. It reminds you to have those elements of suspense from our notes last week. Add foreshadowing, which is clues and hints about the ending without giving the ending away. Please do not write your story here on this worksheet. You are just planning the exposition and those main events of the plot. So I've laid it out for you here in pale gray. When you type, please click here and then choose the black font so that your typing stands out and is dark. And you would name your protagonist number 1, the good character. So you would put their name here, again choosing the black font. If you don't know the name, for now you could just put unknown and then fill it in later. That's fine if you want to name your characters later. And then describe them. Is it a human? Is it a boy? Is it a girl? Is it a superhero? Is it a reptile from outer space? Whatever that is, you would put the antagonist. You need to have at least one. If you wanted to add more antagonists, you can do that. You just copy this part right here, Control C, and then underneath it, Control V to paste it. So you can add however many protagonists and antagonists as you would like, but you should have at least one main character that's the good guy and one main character that's the bad guy. If you want to add more, that's up to you. You need to list the main conflict of the story. What is the setting? Include a time and place. Don't just put that it's Monday afternoon. Are we on Earth? What continent are we on? Are we in a city? Are we in one of the planets from the Star Wars movies? You have to lay it all out here in the setting for your plan, and then list your rising action main events. What is the turning point? You need to know what you're building for as you're writing, falling action, and the resolution. So those are the things that go on your story planning page that I will be checking after this Thursday night. So that's basically what your assignments are for this week. Don't forget, this is due Thursday, October 15th in the Dropbox on Google Classroom by 9 o'clock p.m. So you would open up your Google Classroom, come here to week number 9, click in this section, upload it from your Google Drive, and submit your work. Please let me know if you have any questions, boys and girls, and if you need help, you can always send me an email at cynthia_carner@jusd.k12.ca.us. You can also set up a Google Meet with me if you need tutoring or have questions about this project. My office hours are from 2:45 to 3:15. Thank you.